Because if we really want to do with this Lisbon agenda said, with which you started, then we have to pull up our socks. Now, nobody is forcing Europe to go the Lisbon way. It's an ambition which we set for ourselves, but it's not much use. It's not much use to blow while one keeps meal in one's mouth. I mean, either you do one thing or you do the other. And if you set yourself an ambition, and my philosophy is you should also do it. And in the end, if one wants Europe to have an influence on world affairs, if one wants Europe to have the wherewithal to support an extensive social sector, social support and benefits and so on, then there is no alternative to becoming more competitive and to, as I said, restructure our economy, look again at the labor market, which is too inflexible, and above all keep in mind that our friends in China are just waiting around the corner. After all, the PRC has its stated ambition of multiplying its present economy by 4 by the year 2020. Now, I don't know whether they will realize that ambition, but the ambition by itself is of course awe-inspiring.
As a result of the Lisbon agenda, a lot of different initiatives are being initiated, a lot of different plans are being drawn up. One of the plans that your office has come up with is the internal market for services. In the last decade, we've had the development of the internal market for goods, significant job creation, more than 2 million jobs, nearly 900 billion in extra economic growth.
Yes.
What do you see as the potential for the internal market for services? Will that be bigger than that for goods?
Well, the potential is enormous. After all, on average, our economies consist for 70% of services. And therefore the importance of services is much bigger than the importance of goods. And the directive, which is a legal instrument, which I proposed to my colleagues yesterday, is to liberalize the whole area of services, including obviously financial services, but that's a chapter apart. Liberalize all that on the basis of what we call a country of origin. In other words, if there is a service provider in Italy who complies with the Italian regulations in that field, then he would be free to sell his services all throughout the European Union. That is the basis of the internal market, as I said, country of origin, and it applies to goods. It should now apply, I hope, to services, and that has a big potential positive effect on all our economies.
So realistically, from which date should European businesses be able to do so?
Well, first of all, the directive must be adopted, both by Parliament, and as you know, Parliament will be re-elected in June of this year. Then there is the Council of Ministers. It's a major piece of legislation. The text itself runs to some 60 pages. It is fully on a par with the White Book presented by Lord Cockfield in the 80s on the internal market that started on the 1st of January of 1993. If Parliament and Council adopt it, then of course it must be put into practice. So it will still be a few years before the full impact of that directive will be felt. But once again, what with the considerable increase in population, 450 million people, new legislation coming on to liberalize services, low inflation, money awash, never a problem of not enough money. If companies invest elsewhere, they can also invest in Europe. So there's no reason why we should not improve our economic performance. And yes, overtake the United States as we did in the past, but not now.
That's the first half of our interview with Frits Bolkestein, the European Commissioner responsible for single markets. After the break, he'll be talking about Parmalat, the accounting fraud in Italy, and the implications for lawmaking in the European Union. Plus, he has a few very interesting comments on the Stability Pact. Stay tuned.
you will see that we have the ability to keep growing our bottom line, that we have the ability to go forward, as we said, to do the things that we promised to the marketplace, and at the same time make that transformation from a telco to a IT company with a telco inside. People want solutions. They want things they can use. They don't want the components per se, they want the components plus something. And we have the capability of delivering that. And that's exciting, that's growing, and that is across the board. It's in the consumer market as much as in the small and medium-sized business market as in the major business market.
I'm Jeff Cotmore. Coming up on Sportbox, Richard Dixie, the CEO of Fighter Farm, joins us as guest host. We'll talk corporate governance with Jamie Hurd, the CEO of Institutional Shareholder Service, and we'll take the temperature of the German economy as markets gear up for January's ZEW indicator. Any questions? Sportbox, CNBCEurope.com.
Some things are better done by yourself, like trading direct on 12 international markets with Internax.com, your online broker in Luxembourg.
Europe's leading financial news broadcaster is available whenever and wherever you need it. Listen to breaking news and market updates on your mobile. Request text alerts updating you with exclusive guests. Access our free teletext service for program schedules and investment advice. And with CNBC Europe broadband, you can watch live online 24 hours a day. CNBC Europe, the biggest and fastest growing pan-European financial news channel.
Welcome back to the special program EU Coming Together. We're talking to Frits Bolkestein, the European Commissioner responsible for the single market. Now, one of the plans on his desk actually in the last 4 years has been the Financial Services Action Plan. It's a big comprehensive package of 42 directives in the European Union aimed at creating a level playing field in Europe's financial markets. And I began by asking him what the actual positive benefits actually could be for Europe's financial industry.
What we are trying to achieve is an integrated, deep and liquid market for money, for capital in Europe. If we achieve that, and we are well on our way to doing that, then money will be cheaper. And that, of course, will be good for growth. It will be good for all in Europe, even those housewives, perhaps, who do not participate in the economic life of our continent. Apart from that, it will also see to it will also give us international cooperation in the area of supervision, which is important. After all, it's not only the United States that has experienced financial scandals. We now have the same in Europe, and Parmalat is the latest, and some say maybe even bigger in financial consequences than Enron. So we have to be careful in that area and see to it that supervision is adequate.
You've also had scandal in your own country with
Yes.
Ahold. You've learned lessons from it in terms of making new directives for the accountants that
That's
operate
right.
in Europe. What lessons are you drawing from Parmalat already? Are you able to say something about that?
Well, it's too early to say, but it is beyond doubt that it implies financial malversations at a large scale. And therefore the whole question of what role the auditors and the accountants have played, the outside auditors and accountants have played, what role the Italian supervisory authorities have played, and the question then comes to the fore whether all this is